Hi everyone, it's Lacey Levitt Moore, and I'm going to give my book talk on the book A Long Walk to Water, written by Linda Sue Park. This book, A Long Walk to Water, is a historical autobiography. It is written in a dual perspective. The two main characters are both 11 years old. Naya is an 11-year-old girl from southern Sudan in the year 2008, and Salva is an 11-year-old boy from southern Sudan in 1985. The only things that Salva and Naya have in common are that they both live in southern Sudan in two completely different times, but they both have hardships and they walk the same route for part of the book. So when we join the book, Naya, who I said is an 11-year-old girl, she's from the Nur tribe. Naya walks twice a day from her home to a watering hole, and she carries the water for her entire family. She walks there the first trip in the morning, takes the entire morning. She walks all the way home, drops the water off. Her mom gives her some corn mush and milk, and she is back out and on the route again to get more water. Naya does this walk and makes this trek twice a day for 7 months of the year while she's in Sudan in this village. However, during the non-rainy season, her family has to move to a lake where they're both dried up. There's no water. She can't get water out of her original watering hole. And at the lake, they mix with the Nur tribe and the Dinka tribe. The Dinka tribe is the tribe that Salva's family is from. The Noors and the Dinkas do not get along. However, during this season, both tribes, they're always fighting for water, and both tribes come together at that time, but they're so tired and thirsty and hungry that they're just trying to survive. During the rest of the year, while Naya and her family are at the lake, she spends, instead of spending her day walking back and forth for water, she spends her day digging for water. She has to dig deep into the ground until she gets water, and it comes out so slowly. The water is so dirty that it actually makes her 5-year-old sister very, very sick, and her family has to make a 3-day walk. Where Naya, her mother, and her very sick 5-year-old sister have to make a 3-day walk to a clinic to get medication to save her life, which thankfully it does. When we joined Salva, he is back in 1985. Salva comes from a wealthy family in his village. His father's a farmer. They have cattle. He has siblings. He has brothers and sisters. When the boys in his family turn 11 years old, they get to go to school. So Salva is sent to school when he's 11 years old. And one day while his teacher is teaching, they hear gunfire. The teacher continues to teach because it's not quite out of the ordinary because they are in a civil war in South Sudan. When the gunfire continues and it doesn't stop, his teacher looks out the window and he tells the boys to run. He says, "Run, do not go home. Go into the bush. The villages will be destroyed. Run, run away from the war. Do not turn back." Salva finds himself walking with a group of mostly adults. They do not want him in their group because he is young. He is 11 years old. They think he is a child. He will slow them down through no fault of his own, obviously. Salva continues to walk with this group, and as they walk, they are joined by more refugees, and he luckily meets up with his uncle. The entire time, Salva's so worried he's lost his family, and he doesn't even know where he's walking. He befriends a young boy, another boy his age, and he asks him, "Where are we walking?" And the boy tells him, "We're walking east. We're going to Ethiopia." So now Salva's lost his family. He's also lost his country. They take this journey. They are hungry. They are thirsty. They walk through forests. They walk through desert. They cross the Nile. They're eaten by mosquitoes. There are crocodile attacks, lion attacks. They make it to a refugee camp in Ethiopia. And for 6 years, Salva lives at that refugee camp, still worrying about his family. Then in Ethiopia, the government sends in soldiers and the refugees are again displaced. Salva and several thousand men and boys walk for years. They walk for years to Kenya. Eventually, Salva makes it to America. As the book goes back and forth, like I said, it's a dual perspective. We're intertwined with Salva and Naya making their life in Sudan, and the author does an amazing job at bringing both of these characters together at the end of the book. This book is powerful and poignant and emotional. So I encourage you to read this book and see how their lives come together. This book obviously is very emotional. I have picked the most emotional books for some reason. I think that is a gift that I have. It is a reading level, a Lexile level of 720L. The grade level equivalent is a 5.0. The interest level for this book is grade 6 through 8. However, I've seen a lot of upper elementary school assignments, teacher pay teacher things, activities. I think it would be a really good book for younger students if they were well supported, because it is powerful and emotional, and there is death and there is war, and there are a lot of topics, hunger, that would maybe be a little difficult for younger students to hear, but it doesn't make it any less impactful. And I think that they could handle it and enjoy it because it is written in a beautiful way that if they were well supported, it would be completely appropriate. The grade reading level is grades 3 through 8. There are about 133 pages in this book. It's a pretty quick read. It took me about an hour and a half to finish it last night. The themes in this book are survival, family, community, hope, resilience, development. Some of the more catching quotes in the book, the first line says, "Going was easy." Going, the big plastic container, held only air. Tall for her 11 years, Naya could switch the handle from one hand to the other, swinging the container by her side or cradle it in both arms. She could even drag it behind her, bumping it against the ground and raising a tiny cloud of dust with each step. There was little weight going, there was only heat. The sun already baking the air, even though it was long before noon. It would take her half the morning if she didn't stop on the way. Time, heat, and thorns. Some assignments that I think would be great for this. I found some really fantastic online resources. There is actually a website that is written, and it's an organization created by Salva, the character in the book. I did not put it in my book talk because I didn't want a spoiler for the book, but Salva ends up coming to America. He finds his father and he devotes his life to helping Sudan and getting wells put into villages and schools and getting clean water and access to those resources for the people in Sudan. So his website has an entire teacher lesson units, everything that you could think of. There is a student packet where they can get reading prompts, vocabulary. There are tons of resources. One of the activities that I thought would be great for the students to do is to make one of these collages. This is a themed collage, and it wouldn't have to be a collage that is represents actual events in the book, but if they pick a theme from the book, like hope or resilience, the students could pick pictures of them, their community, our world, things that are relatable to them, and create these beautiful collages. They could also, this would be great for a poetry unit, a timeline unit, anything that we could relate from our current political climate to what was happening during the Civil War in Sudan and what continues to happen in Sudan. An important quote from the book is actually from Salva. His uncle teaches Salva a valuable lesson. He is walking barefoot through the desert, and Salva's still very young. He's still 11 years old. He doesn't think he's going to make it one step further. And his uncle tells him, I just need you to walk to that tree. And he thought he could make it to the tree. And then once he got to the tree, his uncle pointed out another landmark. Now I just need you to walk to the rocks. Now I just need you to walk to the grass. And that's how he finished his journey to Ethiopia. So one of the quotes from Salva is, one step at a time, one day at a time, just today, just this day to get through. I think that's a really important message for students, especially in this age demographic. They can only see such a small snippet of time, and everything seems so big and monumental. And if we can teach them that it's just one step at a time, one day at a time, just today, just this day to get through, we'll really be teaching them a very valuable lesson. As a culmination of reading this book, I think that the students could come together and create a school-wide initiative through Salva's program, Water for Sudan. Schools are able to raise money to actually pay for a well to put in a remote village in Sudan. And I think the kids would be really excited to get behind something like that and see that they could make a difference. So I hope everybody reads this book. I actually was really, really moved by it, and I think it's a fantastic read. Even if we don't get to use it in the classroom because we're going to be with younger students, it's a really meaningful and powerful book that I recommend everybody read. Thank you.